नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। हरे कृष्णा। तत्नः परं पुण्यम असंवृत अर्थम।
तत्न परम पुण्यम असंप्रवृत्तम
आख्यानम अति अद्भुत योगनिष्ठम।
आख्यानम अति अद्भुत योगनिष्ठम।
आख्या ही अनंताचरित उपपन्नम।
आख्या ही अनंत चरित उपपन्नम।
पारीक्षितम भागवत अभिरामम।
पारीक्षितम भागवत अभिरामम।
सुत उवाच
सूत उवाच
अहो वयं जन्मभूत अद्य आस्म।
अहो वयं जन्मभूत आद्यः स्मः।
वृद्ध अनुवृत्ति अपि विलोम जाताः।
वृद्ध अनुवृत्ति अपि विलोम जाताः।
दौष्कुल्यम् आदिं विदुनोति शीघ्रम्।
दौष्कुल्यम् आदिं विधुनोति शीघ्रम्।
महत्तममानम् अभिधान योगः।
महत्तमानाम् अभिधान योगः।
तत्नः परं पुण्य संवृत्त अर्थम्।
तत्न परम पुण्यम संवृत्तार्थम।
आख्यानम् अति अद्भुत योगनिष्ठम्।
आख्यानम अति अद्भुत योगनिष्ठम।
आख्या हि अनंत चरित उपपन्नम।
आख्या ही अनंत चरित उपपन्नम।
पारीक्षितम भागवत अभिरामम।
पारीक्षितम भागवत अभिरामम।
सूत उवाच
सूत उवाच
अहो वयं जन्मभूत अद्य आस्म।
अहो भूत आद्यः
अपि विलोम जाताः।
वृद्धा अनुवृत्ति अपि विलोम जाताः।
दौष्कुल्यम् आदिं विदुनोति शीघ्रम्।
दौष्कुल्यम् आदिं विदुनोति शीघ्रम्।
महत्तमानानाम् अभिधान योगः।
महत्तमानानाम् अभिधान योगः।
तत्नः परं पुण्यम् असंवृत्त अर्थम्। आख्यानम् अति अद्भुत योगनिष्ठम्। आख्या हि अनंत चरित उपपन्नम्। पारीक्षितं भागवत अभिरामम्। सूत उवाच अहो वयं जन्मभूतः अद्य आस्म। वृद्ध अनुवृत्त्यापि विलोम जाताः। दौष्कुल्यम् आदिं विदुनोति शीघ्रं। मत्तमानानाम् अभिधान योगः।
हरे कृष्ण। तत्न परम पुण्यम असंवृत अर्थम आख्यानम अति अद्भुत योगनिष्ठम। आख्या ही अनंत अचरित उपपन्नम। पारीक्षितम भागवतम अभिरामम। सूत उवाच अहो वयं जन्मभूत आद्यः स्मः। वृद्ध अनुवृत्त्या अपि विलोम जाताः। दौष्कुल्यमादिं विदुनोति शीघ्रम्। महत्तमानाम् अभिधान योगः।
Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus, please narrate to us the narrations of Unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Mahārāja Parīkṣit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti-yoga. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, "Oh God, although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualification resulting from lower birth." Purport by the Srila Prabhupada. What was spoken to Mahārāja Parīkṣit and what is dear to the pure devotees is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is mainly full of narration of the activities of the Supreme Unlimited, and therefore it is the science of bhakti-yoga or the devotional service of the Lord. Thus it is para or supreme because although it is enriched with all knowledge and religion, it is specifically enriched with devotional service of the Lord. Suta Goswami did not take his birth in a Brahmana family. He was born in a family of mixed caste or an uncultured low family. But because of higher association like Sri Shukdev Goswami and the great rishis of Naimisharanya, certainly a disqualification of inferior birth was washed off. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed this principle in pursuance of Vedic usage by his transcendental association. He elevated many lowborn or those disqualified by birth or action to status of devotional service and established them in the position of acharyas or authorities. He clearly stated that any man, whatever he may be, whether a Brahmana or a Shudra or by birth or a householder or mendicant in the order of society, if he is conversant with the science of Krishna, he can be accepted as an acharya or guru or spiritual master. Suta Goswami learned the science of Krishna from great rishis and authorities like Shukdev and Vyasdeva, and he was so qualified that even the sages of Naimisharanya eagerly wanted to hear from him the science of Krishna in the form of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So he had the double association of great souls by hearing and preaching. Transcendental science or the science of Krishna has to be learned from the authorities, and when one preaches the science, he becomes still more qualified. So Sutta Goswami had both the advantages, and thus undoubtedly he was completely freed from all disqualification of low birth and mental agonies. This verse definitely proves that Srila Shukdev Goswami did not refuse to teach Sutta Goswami about the transcendental science, nor did the sages of Naimisharanya refuse to hear lessons from him because of his inferior birth. This means that thousands of years ago, there was no bar to learning or preaching the transcendental science because of inferior birth. The rigidity of the so-called caste system in Hindu society became prominent within only 100 years or so when the number of Dvija Bandhus or disqualified men in the families of higher caste increased. Lord Sri Chaitanya revived the original Vedic system and he elevated Thakur Haridasa to the position of Namacharya or the authority in preaching the glories of the holy name of the Lord. Although His Holiness Srila Haridas Thakur was pleased to appear in a family of Mohammedans. Such is the power of pure devotee of the Lord. The Ganges water is accepted as pure, and one can become purified after taking a bath in the waters of the Ganges. But as far as the great devotees of the Lord are concerned, they can purify a degraded soul even by being seen by low-born. And what to speak of association? Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to purify whole atmosphere of polluted world by sending qualified preachers all over world, and it remains with Indians to take up this as scientifically, thus do best a kind of humanitarian work. The mental diseases of the present generation are more acute than bodily diseases. It is quite fit and proper to take up preaching of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam all over the world without delay. Mahatmanam Abhidhan also means dictionary of a great devotees or a book full of the words of great devotees. Such a dictionary of the words of great devotees and those of the Lord are in the Vedas and allied literature, specifically the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuhu Unmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanyam Bhishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Am Sri Guroho Sri Yuttapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sahadvaitam Savadutam परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांच नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देशतारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Today we continue Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, canto first, chapter 18. Parīkṣit calls by Brahmana. We try to understand shloka number 17 and 18. In this shloka number 17, all rishis who gathered in Naimisharanya, they asking to the Parīkṣit Maharaj that they told them about which they had spoken to Parīkṣit Maharaj, and that is very dear to pure devotees also. Those purifying and supreme narration of the Lord, they spoke them, and because that is the activities of the supreme personality of Godhead, and that is the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and that is the science of bhakti-yoga. So they wanted, because it is enriched the devotional service of the Lord. And in 18 shloka, Sutta Uvacha, Sutta Goswami told to those rishis about uh, speaking about the qualification of the narrator. What is qualification? How the devotee, all that describing in that shloka, Prabhuji will tell us is nicely. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhescha kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So when we are talking about unlimited, the verse starts with description of Krishna as unlimited. And the sages are saying, all those who are there in Naimisharanya, because it was Uchuhu. So all of the sages are together saying this, not one, nor the representative of the sages who is saying this. Everyone is saying that you would like to know about the narrations of the unlimited. Ananta. Ananta Acharita. And what are those narrations? They are full of Upapannam. So that is how they are explaining that those narrations of the unlimited, that is Krishna, they are purifying, they are supreme. And actually we want to hear those narrations which were spoken to Parīkṣit Maharaj. The reason being, they are dear to pure devotees and they are always full of bhakti-yoga. So Kali Yuga had just started. So the sages were knowing that if it is any system that can ideally help them get back to Godhead, it would be only bhakti-yoga. Because a couple of verses earlier, they say that they have been doing this yajna, but they themselves are not aware what the results are going to be. It seems that only because of the fire of the yajna, our bodies have become blackened, but we are relishing the best transcendental pleasure when we are listening from you about Krishna. And that is why it becomes very clear to them that the Krishna Katha is very pure. So Goswami ji also responds because he understood this power of the sages. So he informs them, yes, you are right. Because if we are able to follow and serve the great who are advanced in knowledge, then we can be promoted, even if we are born in a mixed caste. And he gives his own example that he is born in a mixed caste. And he further says, not only listening, even if we simply converse with such great souls, it can cleanse oneself of all disqualifications which can there ever be because of low birth. Now there are few facts which we need to understand here. How this whole discussion is about Bhagavatam, because we know that it was Bhagavatam which was spoken to Parīkṣit. And we all know that Bhagavatam is the narrations of activities of Krishna and his devotees. And it is unlimited. And so it is science of bhakti-yoga. And that is why, as mentioned by Prabhupada in the purport, it is para. It is not a regular material philosophical knowledge. No, it is supreme. It is enriched with all knowledge and religion. And especially about devotional service of the Lord. So many times we like to read some books. Some books become very famous, best-selling. But then after a few months, maybe a years down the line, maybe a decade or so, no one remembers it. But Bhagavatam is such grantha, after so many thousands of years also, it is still well versed. And no additions. Huh? This is perfect knowledge. Additions, you like to keep on making changes. Oh, this was a philosophy. No, now this has changed. Now this has changed. No. But Bhagavatam as it is. And that is why it is purest. And the result of listening to Bhagavatam, result of being in association with great devotees, is that even if we have disqualifications of inferior birth, they are washed off. And so Swamiji gives his own example, that he was not born in a Brahmana family. He was born in a family of mixed caste or uncultured low family. Now, why is this being mentioned? That becomes a question. In fact, this question came to me also. Why does he say so? So if you remember, in one of the earliest shlokas, the name of Sud Goswamiji is disclosed. The name of father of Sud Goswamiji is disclosed. And what is the name? Maharshi. And because he was a disciple of Srila Vyasadeva, he was given the task of distributing the one of the Vedas also. So prior to that, he was a very good narrator of the Puranas. And in fact, he was such a good narrator that everyone wanted to listen to him. And so, pride had set forth. He had become proud. To the extent that it is mentioned that if someone is speaking katha, then he generally does not wake up, even if some other persons come. But when Krishna himself, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, or his plenary expansion is coming, it is but natural that we need to get up. But then, when Sri Balramji came, he didn't get up. And Balramji could see the pride in his behavior. So he simply took a blade of the grass and cut off his head. And that is why Sudhguru Swamiji says, I am from a uncultured low family. Now, the story further goes that all the sages, they said, please forgive him. Then Lord Ramji said, okay, I'll get him back to life. But then they requested, no, instead of getting him back to life, you give the power to Sud Goswamiji so that he can continue the Katha of the Puranas. Because somewhere it was a plan that in future he would be listening to the Bhagavad Puran. When Shukdev Goswamiji is saying it, he would understand it, he would come to Naimesharanya and he would narrate it. So, birth, family does not disqualify anyone. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed this principle. And he elevated so many low-born persons. Because for him, what was important is that you should be qualified by behavior, by transcendental association, by knowledge. And then irrespective of your birth, You can even become a acharya or authority. The important is that we should know the science of Krishna. And in fact, that is why if you see, he, you know, Namacharya Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakurji, he was actually born in a Mohammedan family. But because it took so many times holy names of the Lord, he was purified to such an extent that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared him as the teacher of the names, holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the science of Krishna has to be learned from in Guru Parampara system. And Sud Goswami ji, in fact, learned it from the great rishis and authorities like Sukdev Goswami ji, Vyasdev ji. So he was qualified. And even the sages of Naimisharanya, they wanted to eagerly hear from him only. So he was double qualified because he had got the double association of great souls by hearing also and preaching also. So Prabhupada ji says that in fact, our learning can become better when we preach the science. And our qualifications can become much more, and Krishna will accept us much easier, much earlier. And that is why we repeatedly request everyone, like my Guru Maharaj says, keep on preaching on social media, on Zoom meetings, every time. Get as many people as possible to listen to the science of Krishna. It is very, very important. Because then anyone can be completely freed from all the disqualifications of low birth as well as mental agonies. This is most important lesson. And even thousands of years ago, there was no bar to learning on preaching because of birth or a family. No, the science was transcendental. The rigidity of the so-called caste system in Hindu that we see was recently there. It was not there as part of our Shastras, as part of our Sanatan Dharma. It is the Dvij Bandhus or the disqualified men who are born in the higher castes, who have, Hare Krishna, created this wrong system. Prabhupada ji in the purport is giving a very good example of the river Ganges. You know that Ganga Jal, the water of Ganga, is pure. And one can get purified after taking bath in the water of Ganges. And that is why so many people had come to the Mahakumbh recently. But if we meet, when it comes to great devotees of the Lord, they have the power to purify even degraded souls simply by being seen by the low-born. And if we actually associate, then just think of what can be the great benefits which can accrue because of it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his desire, he has said that every gram, every village, his names will be taken every. So he wanted to send qualified preachers all over the world. So it is the duty of those who are born in India to take this task scientifically, because this is the best humanitarian work. All the mental diseases that we can think about, they can be simply solved just by the preaching of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And that is why Mahattamanam Abhidhanaha, the great devotees. It is also meaning book full of words of great devotees. And that is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is a Amala Purana. So we should do whatever best we can to take up this science and ensure that it is known to everyone. That will be the best thing that we can ever do for anyone. That is our responsibility. And for that to happen, it is important that we are really strong in our association. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the whole focus of these shlokas is back on Parīkṣit Maharaj, whose life embodies a perfect example of devotional life amidst material responsibilities. His hearing of Bhagavatam from Sukdev Goswami ji is a model from Shravana Bhakti. So Let us understand this power of hearing Shravanam, because simply by engaging in the glorification of the Mahatmas, one can become purified of all defects, even of low birth. So, hearing and speaking of the Lord is most important for all of us. We have to associate with the devotees, which is greater than material success. The true merit is in devotional service. It is not in birth. Kiratahuna, Andhra Pulinda. If you take shelter of the devotees, they are also purified. Opaji says this in the second canto, 4 chapter, 18 shloka. And preaching is also purification. So let us hear with faith. Let us speak Bhagavatam with humility and sincerity and glorify the Supreme Lord and His devotees at every opportunity. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Now I welcome everyone who has joined us for the chanting session.